You've been doing this a long time. You've had a lot of success. I suspect there have been some failures along the way. Can you walk us through maybe, what was your worst sales experience?
I remember when we were starting this business, for the first year or so, it was really just me. We had no employees, really didn't have any infrastructure, any products. We had a name, and we had a purpose. I got a meeting with Viacom in New York City, and it was their MTV property. And I think this was probably about 2006. I remember going into the meeting, and I walked into the boardroom, and they had approximately 15 people in this meeting, in their mobile department, and it was just me, right, with my fancy brochures. The meeting probably lasted about 15 minutes. They saw quickly through me that I really didn't have much.
How long was it supposed to be?
I think they scheduled about 2 hours. Yeah.
Nice.
As you can imagine, quite embarrassing.
Yeah.
Not something that I'm used to. I remember walking out of the meeting, and the guy who I'd scheduled the meeting with handed me back the brochure. And he said, "You're probably going to need this." I imagine it was an expensive brochure. "Call me when you have a real business." It was one of the toughest sucker punches I ever took. I remember getting on a plane that night. I was flying out of LaGuardia. I'm supposed to fly out at like 9, and it's probably midnight. I'm sitting between two big guys, crunched in the middle here. This is a year into trying to build this business, and I'm having a nervous breakdown. I'm literally coming unglued. I'm thinking to myself, what did I do? Why did I leave this great job to try and become an entrepreneur, build a business? What an idiot. I'm going to have to go back and get a real job. And I remember reading a magazine, and there was an article in this magazine. It was a Q&A with a very successful entrepreneur. It was an entrepreneur who had started successful business after successful business after successful business. They asked him, they said, "How do you do this? How do you build successful business after successful business?" And he told the guy, he said, it's not rocket science. You can have, he said, you can have a tremendous idea in a booming market. And if you don't have good people, you probably won't succeed. The antithesis is you can have a decent idea in a competitive market. There's going to be other people doing what you're doing. If you bet on people, invest in people, inspire your people, develop your people, go get the best people, your chances for success are high. As cheesy as it sounds, it was an epiphany for me. It was why I had had some success. My previous career at MCI is recruited well, I hired well, and I developed well. And that was my framework. And I remember going back the next day, and I walked into the office, and my partner, John Duffy, who was our CEO, I walked in, and he had his feet kicked up on the desk, and I said, "Duff, we need money." And he looked at me, he stopped reading the sports section. I said, "Because we need people." There were 15 people in this meeting at MTV, in their mobile department. We have an opportunity, but we need good people. And he looked at me and he said, "What took you so long?" It took me so long, yeah. He said, "You didn't think you were going to be this successful entrepreneur just like that, did you? You got to build scar tissue. You have to make mistakes, and you got to learn."